Hello and welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Shari Upbin and I will be your host today. Hopefully you tuned into our show last week and saw part one of our series on women directors of South Florida. Well, we decided by popular demand that this topic is so very important, we are dedicating not one, not two, but 3 episodes to it. Today we introduce some more of our top women directors. We have Gail Garrisan, Carey Hart, Gladys Ramirez, and Elizabeth Price. All of these wonderful directors have awards and credentials, maybe a mile long, last time we measured it, so they are much more than qualified to speak about today's topic. So let's get into it. Well, here we are. Welcome to Women Directors of South Florida, but I think we're going to eventually speak about women directors all over the world. I think we all have something in common. But before we do that, Carey, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Carey Hart. I'm a local theater maker. I started as a stage manager with the area stage company a long time ago. After I got out of college, I taught high school for 6 years and then left the school system to work in theater and work with a family business. But theater is my passion. I love making theater. I stage manage, I act, I sing, dance, I sweep the floor, whatever it takes to produce the art.
I love that. Sweep the floor was actually, you know, I think all of us have
swept the floor.
It doesn't matter what it is that we need to do. We'll do it. Elizabeth, tell us a little bit about yourself in a minute if you can.
Sure. I too am an actor, a director, and also an acting teacher. I teach at FAU, and I guess I am a little past the stage of emerging director, but not much. I've directed a lot in academic theater, and am just trying to get a little more established here in professional theater in terms of directing in South Florida. But I do spend a lot of my time acting down here, and I'm really happy to be here.
What do you teach?
I teach acting, acting 3, and sometimes directing.
You teach directing, so then you know everything about directing.
Oh, everything, absolutely. Yes, right.
Gail, we all know about you, but just refresh our memory.
I'm Gail Garrisan. I started out as an actor, became a director, and have been a director since the day that I started, because I just said, oh, I get that's what I want to be doing. And I also have taught in college and taught acting and directing, and teach now at the Broward Center. I teach acting and direct whenever I can. So,
Which is a lot, and your work is great.
thank you so much. I'm not emerging anymore.
No, emerging.
Merged.
Although
moving back.
each new show that we get does put us back to,
Emerging.
I don't know if we have fears, but can I do this, and how am I going to do it? So it all goes back with a little bit more experience to the beginning. Gladys, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My background's as an actor. I graduated with my BFA from New Old School of the Arts, and that's when I directed my first full-length play under the guidance of Gail. Since then, I've directed at various places, and I'm also the artistic director of the Project Theater, which we do site-specific and immersive theater work.
What does that mean?
So instead of doing theater on a stage, we'll do theater where it would naturally happen. So in an art gallery about art, in a store about the employees that work at a store. So kind of fostering the next generation of theater goers and making it an immersive experience where they're in the show.
So you write the play according, which comes first?
You come up with a really fabulous idea and then you stick with it, you write the show, and you kind of beg, borrow, and plead until you find the right place to host it.
Do you rent it, or do they give it to you?
Depends. Sometimes you work it out. We did a show called Hip Hop Won't Save You about these rappers in Miami, and we actually got the venue to open early. And I was like, hey, we're going to fill this bar with 100 people. Can we do our show here? And they let us have the venue, and they kept the bar.
This is just an odd question, if you can answer it. Where do you get your budget from? How does that work?
grants, donations, and then doing everything on a very small budget. Like Carey said, you have to do everything. So, you know, you're at Goodwill buying costumes, and you're writing, and you're producing, and you're trying to like jerry rig IKEA lights to make things happen.
Very, very interesting. What do you do when it rains? And you're site specific.
You go inside. That happened actually.
Isn't that great?
That happened once. We were doing a show at a hotel called Extended Stay, and then it was supposed to be outside in this courtyard, and then last minute we had to put it inside, and I think it worked really fabulously because it was like it lent itself to that, you know, in the middle of everything kind of feel. So everybody was improvising, us and the audience.
Well, this is great. So what we all have in common is that we are all directors. Some of us are educators. I've been doing this since, you know, forever. I just learned by doing. That's how I learned. But I've always been fascinated with site-specific. There's a big company in New York that does that. So why are we here? What are we supposed to talk about today? Women directors in South Florida. So is it inequality towards women? Have any of us ever experienced that? Or is it gender equality? What should we call it? Should we name it? I know that Nicole had said, if you don't name it, we don't know it. So, have you ever had any problems being a woman? And if you didn't, it's okay too.
You know, I don't think I've ever experienced anything particularly overt when it came to like being chosen as a director. But I think what I did feel, and it's hard to know whether this was like self-imposed or, you know, sensing some sort of a pressure, I did feel the need to do a really, really good job, and that the stakes were a little higher because it was as if it was more of a risk sometimes to take a chance on me or to put me in charge of something. And not that I felt, you know, looked down on ever, but I did feel that, you know, because women are often not traditionally thought of in power roles out in the professional world, that like
All worlds or
well, I mean,
just in our
theater is what I should speak to, but I think it's in every industry as well. I just think that like because there hasn't been a tradition of women in power roles, that like initially when we're given opportunities, we do have to make sure, right, that we really rise to the occasion and show everyone I can do this, you know, as well as anyone else you may hire.
This is very, very profound. Gail, do you agree? Do you think that we are not still given positions in power?
I think, yeah, we're still not.
Why?
Why? Because it's a culture that we've all grown up with. And when you have to change culture, it takes time. And it also takes people being really present and really willing to stand up. And it's very difficult for people in general. If when you stand up it looks like a challenge or it looks negative in some way, some of us are a little more afraid to take the stand when we have to, when it's going to cost us our job, especially a job in theater, which theater, for those of you who don't know, isn't the most well-paid job in the world. It's really very poorly paid, let's put it that way. And so you want to have the job that you want, but it's very difficult sometimes to be the one to stand up. And there is, I mean, in the first show, Jeannie said it.
Yeah.
Who's the director? This happened to me.
Who's the director?
Who's the director? You know, asking the director, where's the director? And I'm like, hi. And early on, I was very blessed because I was invited into the Circle Rep Directors Lab when it was still extant, and that was fabulous.
In New York?
In New York, because that's where I lived for a really long time. But so I was very blessed in that way because it, you know, you got in and then people were very supportive, but still, the women had to work a lot harder, and it's just as Elizabeth just said, yeah, you better be the very best, otherwise you fall to the bottom of the barrel.
Are we saying that men do not think this way? That when they get a job, that they don't have to be the very best? like we think?
I don't think we're saying that. We don't know what all the men are thinking, but I'm just going to suggest that oftentimes, especially when we started, which was longer ago, oh, there's a woman director? And I've directed shows with mostly all men on occasion, especially early in my career, where the pushback was clear, and that's where you have to have a sense of humor. And just
well, that's one
push
thing for
through.
sure. We all
Yeah.
do have a sense of humor. Do you find, would you consider yourself emerging?
I am an emerging director. yes.
Okay. Do you experience the same thing that we are talking about? Is it a different world? Has it changed?
I don't know if it has changed so much as that my approach is probably different.
How
than-
so?
I'm more direct in saying what I want.
Good for you.
And when I have an opportunity, I try to, as Elizabeth said, be the best at what I'm doing. Make sure that I cross all my T's and dot all my I's. And when I say something, I try to know what I'm saying. And when I don't know what I'm saying, I try to say, I don't know what I'm saying, but we'll figure it out.
And that knows no gender.
Right, it
Right.
doesn't know any gender.
Yeah.
But I think that younger directors like Elizabeth and Gladys and myself, we are more demanding. We are here. We have had predecessors who have gone out and done an excellent job. And Jeannie Croft and Gail Garrisan and Margaret Ledford, they've gone out and they've paved a way for us to get these jobs. And we are here saying that we're qualified and we're ready to work.
So are we done? I mean, have we just?
Oh, heck no.
No.
But it is the demanding thing. I just want to interject if I may.
Please.
It's the demanding thing. I think when you don't put up with it, it changes. I mean, the story that I've often told is, that has nothing to do with directing, but I was the manager of a store for a while. And it was a great store, and it always had been all men. And when they hired me, I had worked in the store, and then I was made manager. And I go into the office with all the men, and they said, wow, we never had a girl manager before. And then I had to go, and you still don't. And that's done then, do you know? But
Yeah.
we have to stand up on a daily basis, just in life, when people are willing to, want to make you less or make you feel less.
Gladys, do you feel, are you relating to some of the things that we say? Is it in your life, in your experience, or is it all changed or changing?
That'd be nice. No, I think it is easier for me to work as an actor, for me to have opportunities.
Excuse
but-
me, she said actor.
Oh, I'm
In
sorry.
No, this is excellent. In my day, we said actresses. It was it recently changed to actor?
No, it's been that way.
Well, then I was sleeping the day they changed
Yeah,
it.
because then it's like, oh, women directors, but so like the
Exactly.
That's exactly it.
that's already okay. You have to work from being a woman director to being a director. So like we have so many opportunities now, but since now people are working more intergenerationally, a lot of what we think now is not PC or not acceptable or how you relate to genders is one way, but you're still dealing with maybe other people from, other ideologies that relate differently. And it's an unconscious thing. And I've participated and I've seen myself as an equal, but I felt like, shocked that I was like steamrolled or that I was treated lesser than, and I'm not sure if that's an age thing or a gender thing.
That's wonderful that she was shocked, because so many times, and I don't know if you agree with me, we weren't shocked. Many times it was expected. And look, this led to the Me Too movement, things that were expected. It is a different world. And I believe we are standing up and looking at things differently. There's some statistics that we've gathered, and I wonder if they're out there. There you go. Isn't that great to call for something and you get it? Now, women directors represent, let's listen to this, 1.9%, oh dear, of directors of the top 100 grossing films. So this is in films, but we're talking about directors. Can you imagine? Female directors represent only 4% of those on top. Patty Jenkins directed Wonder Woman, which was huge.
Yeah.
Anna Bodin was a director of Captain Marvel, which was huge. Male-dominated theater goes back to the days, oh, here we go. It started with Shakespeare. Now, women were forbidden from being on stage. So it happened right then and there. Why were women forbidden? I mean, we don't even know the answer to that. Every answer is wrong. And even though he said all the world's a stage, yet 29% of plays in British theater were directed by women, 29%. The reason I put up these statistics is, I mean, look, we're in South Florida, but I think we represent globally. You know, to talk about just South Florida, I think we've made a lot of inroads in South Florida, except there's one statistic. And I would like people who are watching this to call or write in, unless you gals know the answer, but I read that there are about 37 theaters, and out of that, only 8 have women directors or artistic directors. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah.
Isn't that ridiculous? Why? Yeah. Let's talk about why this
It actually sounds high.
Oh my dear.
That sounds like 8. That sounds like a high number to me.
Actually, that's very good because I counted 5 and I couldn't believe it, and so I thought 8 sounded a little more reasonable to cover myself.
Go ahead, Gladys.
I think part of it is the larger houses. Are they hiring women?
Broward
artists?
is Jill Kradich, isn't she's an artistic director. I don't know if that was in the.
Oh,
so go on.
I'm not sure about that, but I think just anecdotally from my friends in the community, it seems that all of the women that are artistic directors or that are directing are there because they started the company, because they're also producing, because they're also creating for themselves. Whereas some of the larger theaters, all of the larger theaters are men are at the helm. And then, okay, so when eventually that's gonna turn over, right? There's gonna be a new generation of artistic directors. Are there gonna be women hired to, other than Margaret Ledford, I don't know other women
Are there
in a
enough
large,
of us?
Well, no, I mean, other than her, I don't know that there's anybody a woman that's been brought in to run a company that she didn't start. Do you know what I mean? It's well, so then we're forced to create for ourselves.
Which is a very good point. Did you ever create something for yourself so you can work?
You know, when I used to do film, I did. But you know, in theater, it feels very different because, you know, often in order to have an audience, right, which you need to work with an already established company. And, you know, I know it's a fact for South Florida, and I don't know if we'd look at other regions if it were the same, but like Gladys was saying, here in our area, usually the artistic directors direct many of the shows in their season.
Almost
right?
all.
Almost all. So like,
and they're the men?
Well, if they're at the helm of the companies, then yes.
Well, because also they were the founder.
They were the founder.
You know, if you were the founder and you started your own company and you're going to direct the majority of the shows. So it goes back to, okay, who's the founder? How and this is why women are founding their own theater companies now, especially when they're small. You know, and that really is an important aspect of it. But though I have to say that when I moved to South Florida, I was hired by a number of theaters here, which was really quite wonderful. Being a woman coming to town and then, you know, working.
And it does happen. It does happen.
Yes.
Contract work does happen. It's just, it doesn't happen as much as we want.
It doesn't.
And what I notice is that, you know, the great irony is that in an academic setting, there are many female directors, right? Like you think back to middle school and high school, and those programs are often run by women. Teachers. And then you get into the university setting, and there are often, you know, female professors who are then directing. And so it's very common there, or becoming much more common. It's that bridge into the professional world that you know, there hasn't been as much.
What can we do to speed this up?
I was just going back to.
Go on.
Well, no, because that's changed also. You know, because
it didn't used to be that way.
It didn't used to be that way. I mean, it was all at the high school because what were women supposed to do if they were going to work? They were supposed to be teachers.
Teachers or nurses.
And nurses.
You know.
Do you know? So,
Well,
I'm sorry, to your other question.
No, the question, well, here it leads on, you know, to another question. Do you think that the former, let's call it the former male dominance, because we are here, and whoever is listening, if there's a young girl listening or someone who feels, oh, the statistics are, what they are, we've got to change this. How long is it going to take us, do you think, if we all get together and decide that we've had it? Well, okay, when I first moved to Florida, and I just thought, well, I'll get a job in New York. I was directing, winning awards. I came here. I could not get a job because I didn't know that most of the theaters had male artistic directors, and they don't, hire. So what did I do? Just what we said. I created my own work. I produced my own work because we have to get out there and stand up. So what year is it now? 2000, was it 2020?
Almost.
2020.
Yeah, and we mentioned Shakespeare. Is it really changing? Is there hope for us out there?
I think so.
I think so too. For the
Yeah,
younger
it is
generation.
changing, but it's like Gladys said, like it is taking a slow regime change to change. Like, there's a theater company, doing well in South Florida, New City Players. It's a new, young company, and like they are hiring women directors for different shows, but it's a new company, with younger people leading it who see things in a different way. And I think it takes
us to go out too and make the change. I mean, change doesn't happen in a vacuum, obviously, or in my house. I have to go out to every theater. If I want to work at a theater, it's my job to take myself out there and not be afraid and introduce myself to people and say, and this is anybody, male or female, it doesn't matter. You don't get where you're going if you're sitting in your house.
Right, that's
you
true.
have to be the one that's going out and saying, yeah, see me, I do this, invite people to your shows, make sure that you're seeing you. Now there's social media that puts you out there in ways that, but it's going to be on us for a goodly amount of time to come.
What a wonderful thought, social media. If we left here and decided to form some kind of a conscious raising group on social media, do you think something like that would help?
Well, the Kilroys, which, if you're not familiar with it, is a group of women who, in I think 2013, decided that women playwrights were not being featured enough. They, where are the women playwrights?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, they started a group in California called the Kilroys, and it was for, Kilroy was here.
Kilroy
they want
was
you to
here.
know that women are here, and each year they put out a list of what plays are by women playwrights. I think it's a list of 20 or 30, which to bring that attention.
You're talking about
to that-
professionally all over
in the country.
in the United States.
Yeah, but there are. If you asked everybody to name 10 women playwrights, could they? Could they name 10? It's about getting us up and out there all the time, and I think it's on us.
Yeah.
And to not be afraid.
And it makes you feel like, sorry,
No.
it makes you feel like you're, especially more millennials, they communicate socially on social media, and having that shared experience of we're not alone in experiencing, pushback at work as directors, as actors, as whatever we do. And I think it's also really great how much support I've personally felt in the local community from all the women. I've gotten all of my professional opportunities as a director from women like Gail, like Margaret Ledford, women that have encouraged me, supported me, guided me, and given me a job.
So would you agree that mentors, we need to mentor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that there's any validity in women helping women or women not helping women?
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, like I was saying, if it wasn't for, the first play that I directed, Gail was my mentor for it while I was at New World. And without seeing another strong woman who could assert herself and run a show like that, I don't know that I would have been down the path that I was on. And I hope to also be an encouragement for the next generation of women that comes in. And if we don't kind of raise our voices now, like the women before us did, then what are we leaving behind? And I have a really positive feeling about the women in our community.
We only have a half hour and we just have a few minutes left, but there is a burning question. Do you think that some plays are better directed by women, require a woman director?
I personally don't think that women need to direct plays by women or about women. I think that women direct in all sorts of capacities, at home, at work. We are the directors of children's lives. We direct our parents' lives sometimes. So we direct all over the place, all the time. I think we're highly qualified to direct plays by men or women. I don't think.
I think some plays are better directed by women, and often I think it's the ones that maybe have more male characters. Like, you know, Nicole Stoddard gave me my start in professional theater here, asking me to direct straight white men. And, you know, it was an incredible experience because I directed 5 men, but it gave, you know, such a different view of the whole play. And I personally like that interaction because, you know, I'm seeking balance, and I think that had a great effect.
So do you think we should totally eliminate the words women directors and just call ourselves directors?
Yes, I think so.
And eliminate the term lady directors? Don't you hate that? When
That's
someone
silly.
says, yeah, you're a nice lady.
Director is just silly. But you know, I mean, it's like it was mentioned in the first episode, like you do have to name the problem sometimes in order to continue the solution. We may need it for a little while.
Well, talent doesn't know gender. If you're talented, you're talented, period. And that's the end of that. I think I can call you women. I just don't like the word ladies. It's like the ladies' room, which is a good title, for our shows. And you know, the time has run out. We just can go on, and I think there will be a part 3, which is great. So at the end, you could watch part 1, part 2, and part 3. Luckily, we'll continue the conversation next week. So make sure you tune in. I want to thank our directors for their hard work and professionalism. And of course, I want to thank you for watching. We want to hear from you. Please take the time to send us an email and let us know what you think. That email address is spotlightonthearts@browardschools.com. All past episodes of Spotlight on the Arts can be seen on YouTube. How fabulous is that? Just go to YouTube and do a search for Spotlight on the Arts and look for the picture of our mentor and the gal who started all this, the wonderful Iris Acker, the creator of this show. And as Iris would always say, do y'all remember? Go to the theater.